Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. So let's begin with a simple question. When you think about global health crisis, what comes to your mind?
What was the question?
When you think about global health crisis, what comes to your mind?
Ukraine.
Okay. So maybe we can talk about, you can think about COVID-19 pandemics or diseases like malaria or HIV. But today we are going to talk about a rare disease that many people cannot know that is around us and has been around us for centuries. And this is tuberculosis or TB. So the title of this talk, TB or not TB, plays on the famous Shakespearean question. But today, instead of pondering life or death, we are going to explore the real battle between life and death that tuberculosis represents. So let's rewind the clock to the late 19th century. Oop. On May 24, 1882, the famous physician Robert Koch made an extraordinary discovery. He identified the bacterium Mycobacterium tuberculosis as the cause of tuberculosis. And by that time, tuberculosis was one of the deadliest diseases in the world, killing millions of people. But now imagine it's 1936 and we are standing by the Thames River in London. It's 1936. These patients right next to the river and receiving one of the, that was believed at that time, one of the best treatments against tuberculosis. Fresh air and rest, nothing else. So this may look like a really a scene from the past. But actually, tuberculosis is very much among us, between us, around us. So only during the COVID-19, tuberculosis was the second leading cause of death. But now tuberculosis is again the first leading cause of death around the world, killing around 1.5 million people every year. So let's show you the scale of this problem graphically. So as you can see here, TB affects countries all over the world with a higher burden in Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. But actually, you can see we have tuberculosis cases all over the world. And actually in France, we had in 2022 4,000 new cases. So actually, TB is very much among us, around us, right? But what is important to mention is that TB is a disease of poverty, inequality, and stigma. So it thrives through overcrowded condition when you don't have enough like nutrition, enough healthcare. So that is why it's more higher in poor areas. But actually in France we have many cases, right? So it's pretty much among us. So how does tuberculosis actually work? Tuberculosis primarily affects the lung, however, can also affect other parts of the body, like for example, spine and the brain. So it's transmitted when a person who is infected cough or sneeze. But here is something interesting. Not all the people that bring in the bacteria get sick. Actually, between 90 and 95% of the people that bring in the bacteria can contain the infection because of good immune system. That is called latent TB infection. So you don't know that you have the disease, but you are infected. If something happens in your life that you can have another comorbidities, for example, diabetes, or you get infected with HIV, that bacteria become active and start multiplying in the lung, and you become contagious. That is called active tuberculosis. Actually, it has been estimated that a quarter of the human population is latent TB infected. So, Why is so difficult to eradicate? So, mainly for 4 different reasons. First, a lack of an effective vaccine. Actually, we have a vaccine which is called the BCG vaccine, and it was developed in 1921 at l'Institut Pasteur de Lille. This vaccine is really good to contain infection in newborns that is mostly a disseminated type of tuberculosis. But actually, the most contagious way to transmit the tuberculosis is through the adult pulmonary form. So, we are good on contain disseminated disease in newborn, but we are not good on giving to avoid the most contagious form of the disease. Second one is the emergency of drug-resistant tuberculosis. The problem with tuberculosis is that there are many strains of tuberculosis that are very resistant to antibiotics. And usually, the treatment with antibiotics is really, really long. You won't imagine how long it could be. We will talk about after. Also, another topic that is why it's hard to eradicate is the lack of an easy and rapid diagnostic method. We have 2 diagnostic methods. One is a blood test, which is the gold standard, that is called quantiferon. And the second one is an X-ray. But you need people with high skill to detect really small changes in the lung. And this can take weeks to diagnose. So imagine, as I say, like imagine in sub-Saharan Africa when people live in very remote areas, they have to have access to healthcare, travel kilometers to have healthcare, take the X-ray there, and then probably it takes 2-3 weeks to get the diagnostic, and then have to be treated. So it's really, really long process, and that person that is probably actually positive can still transmit the disease, not knowing that he is infected, right? And the other thing is that why TB is so hard to eradicate is that the impact that COVID-19 did on the end-TB strategy. So imagine, do you remember here that it was all the health program was blocked, people cannot move easily. So imagine this same person that was really hard to find a healthcare and then get diagnosed during COVID time, it was even worse. Imagine also this person was already treated with antibiotics but cannot take more antibiotics to the healthcare system, so it's more easier to get resistant to tuberculosis due to not a really good treatment with antibiotics. So now another question. When you are treated for an bacterial infection disease, for how long usually you get antibiotics? Do you remember? A week? Yeah. Usually 7 days is more usual. If the infection is really, really bad, like for example a bone infection, you could take antibiotics up to 14 days. Can you imagine a person who gets tuberculosis and getting tuberculosis, and likely that person, that strain of tuberculosis is sensitive to antibiotic? Do you think how long could be the treatment for a person with tuberculosis?
A long time.
A long time, yeah.
6 months. 2 months.
Yeah. Sorry. Exactly. At least 6 months.
Wow.
At least 6 months if the person is sensitive to the drug.
And if they're not?
If it's not, that strain is called multi-drug resistant. And if it's multi-drug resistant, you have to take antibiotics from 18 months to 24 months. If that is called the second line of drugs, the second line of drug. Also, there are strains that are resistant also to the second line of drugs. That is called extensively multi-drug resistant TB. And that you have to get treatment for more than 24 months. Can you imagine how it could be for a child to take pills, at least 4 different antibiotics every day for at least 1 year, for at least 6 months? If it's resistant, then 1 year, and then if it's even extensively resistant for more than 2 years, is really, that is why it's really hard to eradicate. And antibiotics is the only treatment against tuberculosis.
And how many people, I mean, what is the part of the population who gets the vaccine? I mean, like, as a...
To get the vaccine? We will talk, we will talk about that. But yeah, I mean, the BCG vaccine, if you want to talk about the BCG vaccine, the BCG vaccine is not always used in all the countries. Actually, Chile has the BCG vaccine like for newborns. And in France, if there is some small population that are more, that you know could be more exposed to the disease, they can be vaccinated. But France don't have the vaccination for everyone. Doesn't have. So now let's talk about the hope on the horizon. This is a new TB candidate, TB vaccine candidate, because the BCG vaccine has been used since 1921. But it's not really 100% effective. It's really good, because that is why still it's not, it's still in use, but only for newborns. This is a new MTB, a vaccine that is derived from a live attenuated bacterium, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, because the BCG is derived from a Mycobacterium bovis. That is what associate taken from a cow. So this vaccine has been in clinical trial in South Africa, and it's really good. It's highly immunogenic, and also have been proved that it's safe in newborns and adults. Now this MTB vaccine is going to be used, actually in use since last month in South Africa, Tanzania, and Kenya, in 15 different sites, and has started to be used for latent TB infected people, and also latent TB infected people that have comorbidities with HIV. So we will see maybe in a couple of years, because these clinical trials take a lot of years, so it's really a lot of follow-ups to see if this vaccine is really going to go in use. And this is another one that you can see in your right, is that actually artificial intelligence has been used for like an algorithm to detect really small signs in X-rays against tuberculosis. So now people can travel to remote areas in South Africa or in sub-Saharan Africa, take the diagnostic, and then send the information to the healthcare, and also with our artificial intelligence detect really quickly, and that person can get treated really faster than before. So, and as we look to the future, the NTB strategy that is under the World Health Organization has been determined this for the next years. So they want to reduce the TB death by 90% in 2035, compared with the 215 levels, and also decrease the TB incidence by 80% to get a 2 million of incidents by 2035. So the incidence is the number of new cases every year of tuberculosis. And what is more inspiring for me also and for the World Health Organization is to ensure that no one is left behind, because this disease is really associated with poverty and inequality. So the World Health Organization and people, scientists, want to make sure that no one, independent of where they born or where they live, can get the same treatment as everyone, same quality of vaccine, same treatment for the rest of the life.